Hello and welcome to this episode of Wild Excursions. Today we are at the John Day National Fossil Site, just a little bit west of Dayville, Oregon. Now this place is home to some of the most extensive records of fossils from the early and late Cenozoic era, which happened about 40 million years ago, the age of mammals. So let's go inside and take a look, shall we? Now, 40 million years ago, this part of Oregon was very different from the high desert canyonland that we know now. It was much more humid, it was a lot wetter, there were marshlands everywhere, and it led to the evolution of several semi-aquatic species. There were several species of what now are known as marsh rhinos and, the giant brontothere. Early horses started to come into development. Creodonts were bear-like predators. Even though they are not related to bears, they called this area home, as did brontotheres and other various types of rhinos. Brontotheres are related to both rhinos and horses. As we move on 29 million years ago, things started to change in this part of Oregon. The marshes dried up. It started to turn into more of a forested plain type environment that we might recognize today. Some of the creatures that we might recognize: horses started to get a little bit bigger, big cats started to develop, there were turtles that roamed the area, there was even the John Day tiger. Now this skull belonged to that cute little guy. It is known as the toy saber-tooth, and it was about the size of a bobcat. This skull belonged to a rather fearsome looking fella known as the antelodont, related to modern day pigs and hippos. It was about the size of a cow, and it was predatory. It would use those teeth and those massive jaws to rip open carcasses of prey animals, crush bones, pretty much do whatever the heck it wanted. Nobody was going to stop it. Would you stop that? Specimens of another interesting animal have been found here, known as the bear dog. This is a common ancestor shared by both bears and dogs, presumably where the evolutionary line split, where we now have modern canines and modern bears. Go to about 15 million years ago, and the landscape changed a little more dramatically. We start to see the plains opening up, the forests taking over the marsh, and we even see the emergence of species like deer and antelope, even early elephants and mastodons. This jaw belonged to a species of early elephant known as the shovel-tusk elephants, and it would use those tusks that come out of the bottom jaw to dig down into the marsh and into dirt to look for roots, tubers, things like that that it would like to eat. Very common during this time were also more primitive horses. There were about 10 species that called this time period home, and they were progressively getting bigger and closer to what we might recognize today as the modern horse. There were even such things as giraffe deer, as these are known. They had physical structure very similar to the deer, but there are notable differences. Those bony structures on the skull are what we might know on giraffes as ossicones. They did not have antlers that would shed like normal deer, so it's theorized that this is some sort of common ancestor between the deer and the giraffe family. Fast forward to about 7 million years ago, and the terrain looks a little more familiar. We see the high desert starting to form, the grasslands and the prairies. Different types of animals also started to call this area home. We had short-faced bears, big cats started to come, not quite saber-tooths, but other big cat varieties started to hunt these plains. Horses began to look very, very familiar. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you want a little bit more information, go ahead and check out down below. If you liked it, make sure to like us and follow us on Facebook. And as always, have a wild day.